So I want to talk now a bit about the public schools, because when you go to South Korea, you do have a choice whether to go work in public schools or private schools. So talking about public schools, okay, they're quite a lot of government programs. So these are programs run by the Korean government, either the national government or if not the regional governments. And there's a few out there. One of them is the EPIK EPIC program. Now this is an all Korean program, and basically you apply through their website and you will go and work in a school, like usually an elementary or a middle school in Korea. Okay. Now the good thing or the bad thing about this, because obviously it has two sides, is that you might not have a choice about where you can go. Now you might roughly say the sort of region you want to go to, and they might say yes, we can fill that, but they are also within their right to change the location depending on their needs. So that's something that you need to bear in mind. If you're flexible, fine, okay? It's quite a well-established program. It's a great way of getting yourself out there if you want things to be organized, that kind of thing, okay? The EPIK program. So something to think about. There's also the SMOE program. Now this is linked to the EPIK program from what I can tell, in terms of you apply through there and then you could then get into the SMOE program, but I don't really see much difference between them except by the locations. So SMOE is Central Seoul, so you will be teaching in the central area of the capital. Okay, a similar thing again in terms of the age of the students you'd be teaching, that kind of thing. Then there's something called the GEPIK program, which is based around Seoul, but not in Seoul Central, because Seoul's quite a big city, okay? So you'll be in sort of the suburbs of Seoul, working as a teacher in an elementary or a middle school, okay? Then finally, there's the T-a, I think that's important apparently, LK program. Now this is where you're going to work in rural areas of Korea, and you are going to not be in one of the big cities. And I should have said with the GEPIK program that you're definitely going to be a lone teacher. You're probably going to be the only person on this program that works there. Okay. And the but getting back to the TALK program, it's an after school program, so you'll be teaching after school. So you would be sort of doing extra lessons after the kids have had their daytime lessons. Okay, so they're the 4 government programs. And if this is something that you want to know more about, definitely have a look on our website, tefl.org, and have a look for this, a Teaching in Korea, put it into the blog page. Or obviously look on your search engine. There's lots of information out there. Also, just look at these programs themselves, their own websites. Okay, so something to look at. One thing to be aware when you go teaching in a public school is that you might have quite big classes. There are tales out there of about classes of 40 students. Okay, so you might like that, you might not like that. I personally don't mind a big class every now and again. 40 is on the bigger end of teaching. Not the biggest that I've been teaching, but definitely at the bigger end of teaching. So it's something to be aware of. You might not like that. You might prefer smaller classes, okay? You also might be co-teaching in these ones. So what that means is you might be in the classroom. There also might be a local Korean teacher in the classroom. Pros and cons of this as well. Obviously, you're working with hopefully an experienced teacher in this kind of thing who knows a lot about it, and you're sort of helping them to get through the class. You might deliver a 1 hour, then you might switch, they might deliver the hour, and one of you sort of walking around and giving the students assistance. Might be something that helps you if you're newly qualified, so that might be something that you like. However, disadvantage of that is you don't maybe have full control of the class, so something to be aware of. Okay, so might be good for you, might be bad for you. Personally, as an experienced teacher, I would want to have full control. But I could see that when I was starting to be a teacher and I was new to the career, it might actually be a good thing for me to have had a co-teacher with me to help me get through it. So something to think about, definitely. Okay. The other thing to talk about with public schools, if you go into one of these programs, is that you will get more vacation holiday. You might get more days holiday off per year. So that is something to think about as sort of a bonus, because public schools, it's the same in the UK here. Public schools, they have more time off than the private schools do in terms of the private language schools. Okay, so that's just something that you got to think about.